Hello there, welcome to my studio with a view. Today I'm going to show you how you can revive your Cricut cutting mats and re-stick them. If you use your Cricut as much as I do, you know that through the course of time your mats lose their stickiness and then your paper moves around while you're trying to cut. Definitely not a good thing. You don't want to waste any of your paper. So I like to do things quickly and simply and save money along the way. So I have discovered that you can re-stick your Cricut mats and save yourself having to rebuy them by using nothing more than a glue pen and a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. So I'm going to show you today how I do that. Today I am using the Bonding Memories glue pen by Close to My Heart. I am a Close to My Heart consultant, so this is the only glue pen that I've ever used to do this process. So I know this one works. There may be others that work, but I'm not sure. I can only comment on this one. If you don't have a Close to My Heart consultant and you do want to get Close to My Heart products like this, I will leave my link at the bottom of the video on here somewhere, so that if you're interested in getting it, you do have somewhere to go. So I'll show you how I do this process, and I'm going to give you my tips and tricks on how I do it and what I've learned along the way. So first of all, this is just a cutting mat that's lost its stick. It still has a bit left to it, but I really think that I need to redo this one for sure. So I like to use a 3x3 square when I'm working on my mat, and then I go along square by square and I complete my mat that way. So first of all, you're going to take your Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and I have learned that through the course of doing one mat, you will go through one whole eraser. So by the time I'm done this mat, there's going to be almost nothing left to this eraser, just so you know what you're going to use for supplies. So what I've also found is that you need to use a lot of water. So you're going to wet your Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and you're just going to scrub your mat. And because this makes a huge mess, I wouldn't suggest doing this anywhere near your scrapbooking supplies. So I usually take it to my kitchen counter or take it to my kitchen table, and I can make a mess and it's easily wiped up. Now, what I've learned through this process is that your Cricut mat not only has adhesive on it, but it also has paper residue left on the surface. So when you're scrubbing this off, a lot of times what you're removing is a lot of old paper remnants and some of the adhesive. And that's, I think, why your Magic Eraser falls apart. I think it also falls apart because of the cut lines that are on your mat. But I think the more water that you use, the less it will fall apart. So you just work on that 3x3 square, wet your sponge, and then go on to the next 3x3 square. Now, I've found a couple of things that I have done is I have actually worked on a mat one whole time, and then I've let it dry a little bit, and then I've Mr. Clean Magic Erasered it a whole second time. And what happens is you end up getting all the paper residue off and most of the adhesive. So you're left with a totally clean, smooth mat. However, I don't think it's a bad thing if you leave some adhesive on there. I think that it makes your mat, makes the glue stick all that much better to your mat. So in my opinion, I would use some elbow grease to erase most of the paper residue and take off some of the adhesive, but you don't have to work so hard so that it's a completely smooth surface. So I've done 2 sections now, and like you see, it does make a mess, but nothing that isn't easily cleaned up. So I'm going to zoom in and let you see. So basically, I've removed from this section, this 3x3 section, all the paper residue. You see there's still some left up here, but from this section, as most of the residue is gone from paper, and some of the adhesive has probably come off as well, and I think that is sufficient. I think that's perfect. I think that'll work just great. So I'm going to complete the rest of the mat, and then I'm going to come back and show you a few more tips and tricks. Okay, now because I'm a bit of a realist, I wanted to show you exactly what it should look like when you're working on your mat. I've done my whole mat with water, and as I said before, do not be afraid to use a lot of water. I find that it makes the scrubbing go a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier. So the last thing I have to do here is this last 3x3 section, but I wanted you to see what you should expect kind of for a mess when you do this process. So I'm just going to do this last square, and again, I'm working in 3x3 3x3 sections. So I'm going to just scrub this one, and I find I go back and forth, and then I switch directions, and you can swirl it up. It really depends on how bad your mat is gummed up, but that's probably good enough there. So this whole process is probably taken me about 5 minutes off camera. I've just scrubbed it really quickly, but this is the kind of mess that you're going to be left with. Nothing too serious, nothing that you can't clean up with a rag. So I'm just going to clean this up real quick, and then I'm going to let my mat dry and lead you through the re-gluing process. Okay, now I'm going to lead you through the gluing of your mat. I'm going to use my glue pen. Again, it's the close to my heart Bonding Memories glue pen. It is basically a chisel tip pen. Now I love these pens already because when you can do a large surface quickly, and just for so many reasons, I love it. I reach for it all the time. Now even more so because I can restick my Cricut mats with it. So with a pen like this, many of you have used them. What you have to do is you push down on your pen and it gets the glue flowing to the tip. So you'll see what's happened here is it's left a little bit there. All you need to do for your Cricut mat is you're going to restick it going inch by inch across the length of your mat. Now you don't need to push down and get the tip flowing. All you have to do is once your tip is wet, then you're just going to go across the mat in 1-inch strips. And whenever you find that the glue is not wet enough, this should be kind of the layer that you're looking at. Just a nice layer. The great thing about these pens is that when it is wet, it shows up blue, which is really nice because you can see where you've been and you can do the next line. So whenever you find it's not wet enough, you just give it a little push down and it flows a little bit more, and you go along and do the next line. And I find I go and I probably press the tip down when I do each line once. So at the end, when I get started, I'll press it down. And sometimes I found that it's maybe a little bit too wet, so then I just don't press it down on the next line. But about 1 press for every line seems to work really well. Again, good thing it's blue because I can see where I've been. That's kind of nice. So I'm not going to do the whole mat, but I'm just going to show you what it should look like. What I do on the ends is I find I go past the edge of the mat just a little bit, or at least past the cutting line anyway, not off the edge. But I take it right to the edge and a little bit over, just so I make sure that I'm sticky all the way to the edge of the 12 by 12 surface. So once I've done the whole surface going back and forth, what I like to do is I just go around the perimeter just to make sure I've got lots of adhesive on the corners. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to let this mat dry. It takes about 10 minutes. You'll know it's dry when you see that it's completely clear. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I want to show you a couple samples that I did with different elements of effort. So you see that what the finished result looks like. This specific mat right here, I went over with the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser 2 times. So there was absolutely no adhesive left on here when I scrubbed over it the second time. So it took a lot more elbow grease. You will for sure use one whole Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. The one that I did on camera for you, I actually only ended up using about not quite 2/3 of it. So there was a little bit left over. This mat, I used one whole complete Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. There was nothing left. So it took me more time because I had to go over it 2 times. I went over it once by 3x3 sections. I let it dry, and then I went over it again. So this one took a lot more work, but the end result is completely clean and really has some stick to it. It looks really nice. This one that I'm going to show you now, I didn't do anything to it. I didn't use a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser or anything. Now if you compare the stickiness of it, they both have a lot of stick to them. The one that's completely clean has a little bit more. But in my experience, I wanted to show these 2 comparisons, and I'm going to show them close up. This is the twice over with the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and this is No Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, just using the glue pen over top of everything that was on this mat. So what you see is it's going to have a dirtier look to it. You see there's some leftover paper residue, but it's still sticky. So what I've done is I've come to that happy compromise in that I find I go over my mat one time with the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and then I stick it up with my glue pen, and your end result will be a wonderful sticky mat that you can use in your Cricut, and all that you used was the glue pen and the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. I just want to make one final comment in that I have seen people or heard of people using a scraper on their mat, like a paint scraper on their mat. I haven't tried that. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I did try it and it cut my mat, so I stopped right there because I didn't think I had the right kind of scraper. But I've also heard of people using engine cleaner from their garage, and I just couldn't bring myself to use a harsh chemical like that with my kids around. So I think this works fantastic. It resticks my Cricut mats, and it saves me a lot of money along the way. So I hope it helps, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to shoot me an email, or also the instructions for this are also on my blog at mystudiowithaview.blogspot.ca. And if you're interested in ordering the Bonding Memories glue pen and you don't have a close to my heart consultant, you can just follow my website and you can shop online there. That's great. Thanks. See you later.